Thanks for your company. Let's start with the biggest story in the country. And Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Ameri is today starting work with additional responsibility as acting Energy Minister. The Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko was fired yesterday by President Akufo-Addo over his handling of the Ameri Power Agreement. We'll hear the President's reason for sacking his Energy Minister shortly. But first, here's some history of the Ameri Power Agreement dating back to the Mahama administration.
$110 million deal signed by the Mahama administration has always been controversial. In December 2015, a Norwegian newspaper published an investigative piece claiming it was overpriced and should have been worth $220 million. When the NPP took over power, the Philip Addison Committee reviewed it and concluded $360 million was the right value. In July 2017, Police CID raided the homes of former Prime Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor and his deputy John Jinapor as part of criminal investigations into the deal. On 24 December 2018, Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko laid before Parliament a reviewed Ameri deal seeking approval. A new firm from Greece, Miscellaneous Trading Company, was to take over the plant from Ameri. They were to own it for 15 years instead of the original 5 years agreed with Ameri. Mr. Agyarko claimed the deal will save Ghana $400 million. But the African Center for Energy Policy disputed the claim, saying the deal will cost the taxpayer $937.5 million. Ben Boakye is its executive director.
We can conclude that this deal is even worse than the original contract. We are committing a cash flow of $1.2 billion to this new agreement, and it doesn't really make sense for anybody to do that.
Parliament froze approval processes for the deal, demanding additional documents.
We're talking about clawing back some gains to the state. If people are raising issues about the gains that we are clawing back, to say that, but put together we may not even get anything, or maybe it will be minimal. Some are even saying that we may even end up spending more. We need to interrogate the figures to know that what we are doing, what decision that we are taking is in the best interest of the country. And I spoke to the finance minister, I spoke to the attorney general, and we all decided, plus the minister responsible for energy, and we decided to tarry a while, have a closer look at it, and then I guess when we come back, in about a month or so time when we shall come back, these things would have been well done and well considered, and then we'll be in a position to take a decision.
Is this to say the innovation agreement was done in a rush, given the fact
I've not said so. I've not said so. I've not said so.
Okay. Can we
but you cannot. But even bills that we do, they are not sacrosanct. Occasionally you do introspection and then realize that there's something that we could have done better. If there's anything that we could do better as a country in interrogating these agreements, why not? It's the only reason.
Is assurance,
we want to do what is best for this country.
Is the assurance that value for money will take precedence over anything as far as Parliament is concerned?
There are many issues, including that.
The minority in Parliament addressed a media briefing asking Ghanaians to hold President Akufo-Addo personally liable for the bad deal. John Jinapor is minority member on the Mines and Energy Committee.
The ultimate responsibility as far as this scandalous deal is concerned must be placed squarely on the President of the Republic of Ghana. President Akufo-Addo must be personally held liable and responsible for this scandal. The Minister of Energy couldn't have come here without approval from the President. And the President couldn't have given approval if he did not look into this. It therefore sums up that the President is very comfortable with this deal. The President is certainly neck deep and arms deep into this whole deal. And you cannot hold the President responsible. And we want to put it on record that the President cannot extricate himself from this stinking, scandalous, disastrous deal that's about to wreck the whole nation.
In a final push, staff of Power Generator at the Volta River Authority, led by Cephas Duse, addressed a media briefing just yesterday calling for the minister's head.
The Honourable Minister is incompetent, lacks integrity, or absolutely not on top of his job. We think that by the current deal, the Energy Minister has exhibited financial recklessness with intent to assist a foreign company milk the state. We therefore call on him to honorably resign immediately and save the government and this nation from further disgrace and embarrassment and time wasted. We plead with the president to sack him if he so honorably fails to what? Resign.
Now, the pressure appears to have paid off with suggestions the president was misled by the sacked energy minister. This is because the president himself had originally granted an executive approval to the now dead renegotiated deal.
That was a News Desk report. Now let's hear Communications Director at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, giving details on why the President decided to sack the Energy Minister.
Basically, you all know the circumstances that have surrounded the Ameri deal. The President believes that considering the nature of the information that has come out concerning the deal, he believes at this point in time it is in the best interest of the country, it is the best interest of the Ghanaian people, and also it is in the best interest of his administration that he leaves Minister for Energy of his position at this particular moment. And the former minister has accepted the President's decision.
We've heard that Mr. Boakye Jacko misled the president. Did that happen?
The final deals as to what led to the president in his decision would have to be for another conversation. Yeah, I don't know where that information is coming from.
Now, on the substantive matter on the Ameri deal, will the original document that the committee in Parliament had rejected?
You heard Communications Director at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, speaking to Evans Mensah. There will bring you more on that. But spokesperson on Mines and Energy, Adams Mutawakilu, has welcomed the President's decision.
This has a lot of lessons. One, it tells us that executive approval is not the
Apologies for that poor quality in video. Basically, Adams Mutawakilu, the minority spokesperson on energy and mines, welcoming the President's decision to sack the former energy minister. Well, Peter Ameri, who will be acting in his stead, is yet to speak publicly on the matter. We'll bring you more. But what's his qualification for this portfolio? There's more in the following report. We'll bring you that more on that later. Meanwhile, brother of the former energy minister, Emmanuel Boakye Jacko, also member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon, has been commenting on the dismissal of his brother on the AM show.
It can happen anytime. It is entirely at the pleasure of the president. But all of this was welling up, and something had to give. I wouldn't say I saw it coming. It is in the bosom of His Excellency the President. But the trees have a saying. Something was bound to give. With all the noise, people who know him from Methodist School through Mfanspim and Legon would be the best to testify about him. He's my brother, and when you are related by blood, you must be extremely guarded in the things you say or you don't say. You might want to say you blow your own trumpet, but I believe that posterity will always be the best judge, and we should leave it at that. I can tell you that the authoritative alarm sometimes made mistakes. So I will take a statement from the office of the president, signed by his press secretary, or signed by the minister for information. This business of some newspaper and some alleged close links with the presidency means nothing. Look, there is a matter that confronts this nation. I believe that some issues were raised. His Excellency the President, in his wisdom, decides that let's stop this. And he even goes ahead and says that in my prerogative, I remove the minister.
That was brother of the former energy minister. Let's now speak with Martin Adjue, who is a member of the Senior Staff Association of the Volta River Authority. Now, they actually called for the dismissal of the energy minister if he failed to resign. Good morning, Mr. Martin Adjoy. I assume you're happy because it seems the president heeded your call.
Good morning to you and your listeners. It's not a matter of being happy, but it's a matter of understanding that the right thing has been done. To suit the nation, the interest of the nation. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
It's not an emotional happiness coming from it, but our understanding that from a professional point of view, that the right thing has been done.
So the way forward for this particular deal, we know that Parliament could not approve the novation agreement for which we are seeing the dismissal of the former energy minister. The way forward, would you rather we finish this particular agreement that the Mahama administration signed, or you still think that there's a possibility for a better renegotiation of the deal?
There's been a general sense that the agreement itself has been a bit costly and expensive. That's been the general agreement or general focus of everyone. And therefore, there's sometimes the need for, maybe if there's any opportunity for a review, fine. To suit the nation, fine. But what we are saying is that if there's no better alternative, this current bill that has been proposed is not the best. It's even worse than the previous one. Unfortunately, the president has understood that. So if they have any way forward just to reduce the cost, there could be. We are not against it. And no one will be against us.
You are not against renegotiation or possible extension of this Ameri deal, is that what you're saying?
Well, if there will be a renegotiation to reduce the cost, fine. In terms that we need to understand this is an international agreement that has been signed and sealed. And therefore, there are ramifications if we want to change some of the terms again. So these are the ramifications that we have to look to if we want to change them.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Mr. Martin Adjoy is Greater Accra Regional Chair of the Senior Staff Association of VRA.